Okay, this is my 2017 Dodge Charger SRT Hellcat, and today we're going to be doing an oil change. Let's get started. So here's your 6.2 liter V8 supercharged Hemi, and let's get started. So we have it already jacked up safely. Let's go in there, I'll show you. So we have it safely up on jack stands on both sides. Always make sure safety first. We have on each side as well the jacks with a little bit of pressure for added safety. We also in the back have the wheels chopped off. So we'll go ahead while we're up here and remove the oil filler cap. Set that aside. Now let's go under the vehicle. So to access the oil pan, you must take off 4 of these belly pan bolts that remove this plastic cover. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now you can move the belly pan, and now you have access to your oil pan. Okay, so this is the oil pan. Those bolts that I just took off, those 4, is going to be a 13 millimeter. So now we'll start draining the oil. This is going to be a 13 millimeter. I already broke it loose for you guys. So now let's remove the oil drain plug. So let's let that drain. So now while that's draining, to do a complete and thorough oil change on your Hellcat, you need to also take off this second belly panel in order to access the oil cooler lines to do a complete oil change. You're gonna have to disconnect it from the front fascia, which is gonna be a 7 millimeter, as well as over here, you're gonna have to access some clips, some plastic clips. So let's get started. Okay, so you're gonna have 1, 2, 3 of these plastic clips that you have to take out. You can use a special tool in order to pop these out, but I find with the limited space, you could just use a flathead screwdriver and pop these out. There's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. So then we're gonna go back and take off these 7 millimeter bolts. 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5. 7, 8. And then remember, you still have 3 more clips, plastic clips on this side that you have to take out. There. Now you gotta pull back, and there you are. So that will give you access to your cooler lines for your oil right here. So it will be this bolt that you must take out and finish draining your oil. Okay, so here's your oil drain bolt. You always want to inspect it to make sure that the rubber is not damaged. I usually like to replace them every maybe 2 or 3 oil changes. This one's still pretty good, so we're going to continue to use this one. So we're going to go ahead and put it back in, clean this a little. And I just hand tighten it for now. I personally like to hand tighten everything and then go back and we'll torque it. It's your personal preference. Just make sure that you do torque it and don't forget. So now we're gonna move on to the oil filter. And I use a K&N Oil Filter. So it has a nut on the bottom that you can use to remove it instead of using an oil filter wrench. It's pretty convenient. So it takes a 26 millimeter. So I'm just gonna break this loose. Okay. Okay, so now that I broke it loose, I'm gonna go ahead and undo it with my hand. And it does make a mess, so be careful. So now we wait until that drains out completely. Okay, so this is the K&N oil filter that I use. It's a HP 2010. So what I like to do is fill this with some oil and basically you pre-lubricate it so it doesn't, so you're not starting the engine with a dry oil filter. So we'll just put a little bit more. And what you should do is, with your fingers, put a little bit of oil around the oil gasket. That way it helps it seal, and it's a lot easier to take off the next time you remove it. Okay, now that we removed the oil filter, we're gonna go ahead and clean the housing. You also wanna make sure that you didn't leave the other gasket from the other oil filter behind, because that will cause what we call double gasket, and it will cause a major oil leak. So you wanna ensure that there's no other oil filter sorry, I can't think of the name at this moment. You want to make sure that there's that the other oil filter gasket is not there. You also want to check, you know, make sure you don't have anything weird going on there. So it looks pretty clean, so we're gonna go ahead and install the other oil filter. And as you know, we already put oil in the filter, so you got to be very careful not to spill it. So you want to get it on, you just want to screw it on. Let me wipe some of the oil from my hands. And they're really only supposed to be hand tight. But what I like to do is I always like to snug it up with the ratchet, just a little. Okay, so what I like to do, like I said, is kind of snug it up a bit with the ratchet. And that's good. You don't want it too tight. Okay, this is your oil cooler transmission line. It's best if you take a crescent wrench or adjustable wrench, whatever you prefer to call it. The socket's going to be a 15 millimeter. You're going to crack that loose. I already cracked it loose for you guys. So then you're going to go ahead and unscrew it. And let the rest of the oil drain out. As you can see, it's not a lot of oil, so it's your personal preference if you would like to do it. I personally like to do it, so just showing you guys how to do it and where it's located. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and wipe this down. We wipe the bolt down. We're gonna go ahead reinstall your bolt. Okay, we'll push this oil pan out. Gotta be very gentle with these oil cooler lines. You could easily just break them. So you just want to put a little bit of pressure, snug it up, so that it doesn't leak. Okay, so now we're gonna torque it to 20 foot-pounds. There we go. Okay, so for your Hellcats, it's recommended for the 0 weight 40, the Pennzoil, and the specifically for your SRT engines. So this takes 7 quarts. We already got about a half a quart already in the oil filter. So now technically about 6.5 quarts will go in. And I forgot to mention, the reason why you want to take your oil filler cap off while you're draining the oil is because it helps it drain it better. So now we will be adding 7 quarts and starting up the engine and ensuring there's no leaks. So I won't bore you guys with the 7 quarts, so we'll bring you back later. Okay guys, we just put the last bit of oil in the car. Now we're gonna start it up and check the oil pressure. it's a little bit noisy, but the oil pressure, this is normal for a cold oil pressure. Once the car starts heating up, the oil pressure is supposed to drop down to about roughly in the 30s. So we'll let this run a little bit. We'll come back and check on the oil pressure, but now let's go into the car and make sure there's no oil leaks. Okay guys, I know it's really noisy under here, but you want to make sure you have no oil leaks from your oil drain bolt, as well as no oil leaks coming from your oil filter. And last but not least, no oil leak, I should say, from your oil cooler line. So everything looks good. We're gonna come back to the oil pressure in just a minute, and then we'll wrap this up. Okay guys, so we're back in the car now. Sorry for the light. You see our oil pressure's dropping down to 45, 44 PSI for the oil pressure. Usually it's gonna go down to the high 30s, mid to high 30s. Car's been running now for about 15-20 minutes. We're gonna leave it at that for now. So we'll come back to you later. Okay guys, now that we finished the oil change, we're gonna check our cabin air filter and our engine air filter. Now, when you change them, kind of depends on your driving habits and also your climate, where you're driving. If you're driving a lot of dirt, obviously you're probably gonna have to change it more often. My driving habits, I usually change it maybe every other oil change. So let's get started. So your cabin air filter is either going to be located on your windshield area right here where mine is located, or it's going to usually be located in the passenger glove compartment area. So let's show you how to do it on a 2017 Charger SRT Hellcat. And I found that most of your Charger SRTs have the cabin air filter here. So you're just gonna push in on these two little clips, pull out. It's gonna expose your cabin air filter here. You're gonna lift up on this and then grab your air filter and just pull it right out. So this is about after 2 oil changes. So this is the second oil change, and we're gonna go ahead and replace this throwaway one with a K&N reusable air filter. So same thing, very easy. You just place it right in, slide it right in the little slots. Make sure you hear that snap. Then you're gonna come back over here, snap it right back in place. Very simple, very easy job. Okay, now this is going to be your your engine air filter box. So all you're going to do is take a Phillips head screwdriver, and there's 3 bolts, or the proper term, fasteners, that hold this into place. Now today I will not be changing or washing the air filter because I already replaced it about 2 weeks ago. So it's still good, but I want to show you guys normally when I do an oil change, this is what it consists of. So it's only 3 holding it in. Flathead screwdriver, come over here to this clamp, loosen up your clamp, unsnap that, and then you just pull it off. It takes a little bit of wiggling, and there you are. And it exposes your engine air filter. And I replaced this not too long ago, so it's not too bad. It's a little bad, but it's not too bad. So, and then if you really want to do, if your engine is kind of running a little rough, you can always come over here, and your throttle body sits here. You can always clean your throttle body with some throttle body cleaner, as well as in here is your mass airflow sensor. And there's a special cleaner called mass airflow sensor that you use to clean that with. Do not use anything else. That's a very expensive sensor. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and just replace that. If you guys would like to see a throttle body cleaning video, I can go ahead and post that. But you just put back these 3 screws or fasteners. There. You want to come back over here, make sure the hose is completely over the housing, and then you want to go ahead and tighten that up so you don't get no air leaks. And don't forget to plug back in your sensor. And there you go. That's how you do a oil change and a filter changes on a 2017 Dodge Charger SRT Hellcat. Okay, so the last thing, you always want to make sure to check your oil level. Here's your oil level dipstick. You're going to take it out, you're going to clean it off. And it's good to do the oil change after the car has been turned off for a couple minutes to allow all the oil to drain back into the drain pan. Then you remove it and you check it, and we're right on the mark. And then that is all you have to do a complete oil change on your 2017 Dodge Charger SRT Hellcat.